Hello everyone, it's Jamarl Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. So I am clearly not in my normal space today. I'm trying to find the right angle that gives me the best light. I am in my car on my lunch break. This is saying very bad connection. Hope it's showing okay. Let's talk about Puerto Rico. I would like to talk about Puerto Rico. We are failing Puerto Rico. In 1898, the United States got into a war with Spain. It's bad connection. Let me try this outside. All right. In 1898, the United States got into a war with Spain. That war that it got into with Spain yielded Puerto Rico. Now, Puerto Rico was actually a rich place if you're talking about resources. Rico rich, title. They dredged up this idea of a war, meaning there was the sinking of a ship. I forget the name. The Maine, that's the name of it. Yellow journalism kind of stoked these flames that Spain had somehow attacked America and we needed to attack Spain right away and we needed to go after them and we needed to do this and do that and remember the Maine. Remember the Maine. There was no real evidence that Spain had anything to do with that attack. What the United States wanted was the sugar in Puerto Rico. They wanted it. They coveted it. They loved the resources that was in Puerto Rico. Also, it's an awesome military fort at that point. The United States beat the stuffing out of Spain, took over their colony. And taking over their colony, they told those people that they were going to get freedom. They said, you're going to be free. You're going to get freedom. We're America, and we believe in freedom. And those people quickly found out that America lied through its teeth. That ultimately what it wanted was their resources. The resources that they did have also, like coffee and all that, went to the backside. Went away. It went away because ultimately America cared more about the sugar production than they did any of the other production capacity. We took a colony. We didn't want to call it a colony because we're America. We took a colony. And, I'm not here, Little Caesars. This was the only place I could get a connection. My wife, we're on this thing of not eating anything that's not humanely raised, and so Hurricane Maria, I believe, something to that effect. But you're pulling me off base. My point is, when we took that colony with this idea of we want sugar production. Now, because of American interests, because of businesses and everything else that went there, sometimes it's hard to hear. I get in my car. The sugar production was the thing that America wanted. And so people that did coffee and things of that nature, those guys went by the wayside. Those guys went belly up. Now, this put a lot of people in poverty, as you can imagine. If you're a coffee producer and America comes in and the businesses are more focused on sugar, well, they don't care if you're doing sugar. They want coffee. Now, yeah, they don't care. They want coffee. Now, here's the thing. You fast forward, how many years? That was 1898, almost 100 years or more. And if fast forwarding almost 100 years or more, it's a poor place. We don't like to call it a colony, but it is a colony. By all intents and purposes, Puerto Rico is a colony. Now, we call it something else. There's a legal term that we use for it, but all it means is colony. They even went so far as to say Puerto Rico shouldn't be held under the Constitution because they're savages. It was something to that effect. It was like these guys are incapable of understanding Anglo-Saxon behavior and, how we are. They're fundamentally different, and because they're fundamentally different, the Constitution shouldn't apply to them. At a certain point, they did get they did get citizenship. But understand, we still held them as a colony. Before the United States took over, they had gotten to the point where they were fighting for their own independence from Spain, meaning they had their own parliament, they had their own governing body and all this other stuff. When the United States took over, that went away. Ultimately, Puerto Rico, whatever happens to Puerto Rico, is purely determined by the United States government. That's us. We wanted a colony. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! We wanted a colony. We got a colony. We got a colony. That means you have responsibilities. You didn't want to make it a state, but it is a colony. It is in your discretion to do something about it. That place is without hospitals for the most part. That place is in a ton of water. That is currently Donald Trump's Katrina. Now, we don't want to call it Katrina because we don't consider Puerto Rico a state. But Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans, they do have. They are Americans. Yes, they're Puerto Ricans, but ultimately they do have citizenship in the United States. That's our responsibility. If something like that happened to Florida, if something like that happened to Texas, we would devote all the aid and all the necessary resources to Texas and Florida and all these other countries and all these other states. Why not Puerto Rico? Explain to me why we're not doing this for Puerto Rico. If the United States wants a colony, fair enough. The United States has a colony. Is it the United States' responsibility to deal with the issues that's associated with that colony? Again, I make the point, what's the difference between that colony and a state? Yes, there are legal differences and distinctions between colony and a state. I'm just making the point that from a responsibility standpoint, the United States wanted it. The United States took it in a bloody war. The United States used propaganda in order to create that war. They were able to get the sugar cane. They were able to get the military positioning of Puerto Rico. You got all the benefits. What about the responsibilities? If you have a bunch of people in this country, those people, the hospitals, for the most part, have been destroyed. There's water all over the place. You've had mayors and whatnot crying and pleading for help. Where's the help? Where's the full-fledged help? Puerto Rico should be helped to the same degree that Florida or Texas or Virginia or any other state that would be hit with a superstorm. They are our responsibility. Ours. That is our responsibility. We should... They're human beings. They're human beings. I guess that's where I fall on this. They're human fucking beings, and they're our responsibility. And instead of us putting all speed and forces to deal with that particular issue and help that particular country, and understand the behavior that we've taken around this globe in regards to oil production have made those superstorms worse. Meaning that to some degree, the things that are befalling Puerto Rico is not Puerto Rico's fault. Yes, there would have been hurricanes. No, the severity of those hurricanes would not have been as bad if it wasn't for our behavior around the globe, whether it's animal agriculture or whether it's oil. How we go about getting our energy out the ground. Richest country on the planet. We can spend $1 trillion on the military. Puerto Rico is drowning. They're drowning. They're our neighbor. They're drowning. They're our colony. They're drowning. We're talking about healthcare. We're talking about Republicans trying to pass a healthcare bill that would take away healthcare from a lot of people and that would gut Medicaid. That's what we're talking about. Hey, Puerto Rico is drowning. That's our colony. Yeah, I get that. Trying to figure out a way to steal healthcare from people so we can give massive tax cuts to people who don't need it. We live in a terrifying reality. That's all I'm saying. We live in an immensely terrifying reality. There is a level of callousness associated with that. That is breathtaking. That's breathtaking. I'll leave it at that. I don't want to belabor the point. It just aggravates me, that's all. It immensely aggravates me. We took a colony, and taking that colony, we decided that we don't necessarily want to deal with making sure that colony is intact. We're perfectly okay with raping that colony of its resources, and now that colony is in dire need and dire straits and needs our help because of superstorms and things that were beyond their control. But again, we own Puerto Rico. We own Puerto Rico. Imagine a situation where, you own the piece of property. That piece of property was damaged in some way, and people who were living there were like, hey, you own this property. This wasn't our fault. This was an act of God. This is your property. Ultimately, we're moving out. You need to take care of your property. Either way, you need to take care of your property. You're the landlord of that property. If the United States want to say that they own Puerto Rico, if the United States is against Puerto Rico having some kind of statehood or being some kind of independent country, then handle your responsibilities. Handle your responsibilities. When we played chess, sometimes we would be attacking a piece. But that piece has other responsibilities, so the piece can't move. And we would say to the effect of, you got to take care of your kids. You have responsibilities that you need to take care of. That piece can't move. You need to take care of your kids. Same here. You need to take care of your kids. The United States need to take care of responsibilities. Puerto Rico is one of those responsibilities. Can't believe we're quibbling about a few $1 billion. It's just this thing that anything that they put out at that point is compared to the amount of money they paid on the military budget. And in the amount they paid on the military budget, it gives a clear indication of the priorities of this country. We're okay with war. We're okay with killing. Helping somebody, we're uncomfortable with that. Yeah, but you own it. Yeah, we're still uncomfortable with that. That's going to cost money to help. Those are human beings. Those are human beings suffering. Those are human beings suffering in a country that we ourselves took ownership of. They didn't ask us to take ownership. We took ownership through blood and treasure. Through blood and sword. Those people are suffering, man. I've been in situations where the hospital had failed because of some kind of hurricane. I've been in really shitty situations where you're laying in the hospital and you've been hit by a hurricane. All the power and the resources of that particular hospital have been crippled. That was in the United States of America. I can't imagine what it's like in a much poorer country like Puerto Rico. Communications are down. Transportation is down. Hospitals mostly throughout the country is down. Yeah, I'm not going to belabor the point. We should assist Puerto Rico as if Puerto Rico was a state. That's my point. We own that colony. If you own it, you better take care of it. In this very particular case, there is a moral argument to be made that if you're going to spend $1 trillion on the military, you can at least take $100 billion to assist Puerto Rico. Hell, $10 billion. Hell, $2 billion. It's a fraction of what you're spending murdering people abroad. That's all I'm saying. All right, I will leave it at that. I need to get back to work. All right, guys, if you enjoy the content, feel free to share, subscribe, and of course, you can always support the work through Patreon. Thanks, everyone.